Dead Space is an iconic series in horror video games, a series that exemplified the isolated horror of deep space and terrifying alien creatures that are the result of human beings being ripped to shreds and manipulated into becoming anything but what they were. Throughout the series, there were mysterious and unknown phenomena adjacent to the aliens, or necromorphs as they're called, but it wasn't until Dead Space 3 elaborated on the necromorphs and expanded their idea to the cosmic level that you realized that there was some serious cosmic horror at hand here. And nothing is seemingly as forefront as the idea that mankind is insignificant and is just a blip in the cosmos.
It was a terrible, indescribable thing, vaster than any subway train, a shapeless congeries of protoplasmic bubbles, faintly self-luminous, and with myriads of temporary eyes forming and unforming as pustules of greenish light all over the tunnel-filling front that bore down upon us.
First, what is cosmic or Lovecraftian horror? H.P. Lovecraft was an author who used the philosophy of cosmicism heavily in his work. That philosophy being that the reality underlying the veneer of normality is so alien that seeing it would be harmful. He used this philosophical idea to portray horror more so than gore or elements of shock, and as such the use of cosmicism in fiction is synonymous with Lovecraft, and works using it are considered Lovecraftian horror. One of the best characterizations of Lovecraftian horror is by Vivian Relikas in her paper titled Cosmic Horror and the Question of the Sublime in Lovecraft, where she defines it as that fear and awe we feel when confronted by phenomena beyond our comprehension, whose scope extends beyond the narrow field of human affairs and boasts of cosmic significance. So now with the definition squared away, let's take a look at the backstory of Dead Space. A long time ago, a black marker crashed into Earth. It was a powerful energy source, but it had the funny little side effect of making people insane and turning them into these hideous monsters. In an attempt to replicate it, the government made red markers, hoping to get all the good energy benefits without the hideous monsters. The red markers turned out to be just as bad. The government hid the markers away in an undisclosed location because the benefits were definitely not worth the risks, but that didn't stop the formation of a religious cult intent on digging them up because they think that the markers are a gift from God. In Dead Space 3, Isaac and company set out to Tao Volantis, an ice-covered planet that is presumed to be the homeworld of the black marker and the alien life forms responsible. But it turns out, Tao Volantis is just a victim of a second black marker. The black marker on Earth is just one of many. All of these markers were placed throughout the universe on certain planets to encourage the evolution of intelligent life. Life which will ultimately try to propagate the marker's power and thus destroy itself. This removes the necromorphs as a personal danger. They aren't just scary aliens confined to Isaac or even one ship or even humanity as a whole. This danger has been spread, and it has infected an unknown amount of planets and life forms. The black markers are a specific and malicious plan to consume all life in the universe, and this begs the question: who is making them? Who is spreading them? There is a conscious effort and planning on a universal scale to spread these markers, but it's impossible to even comprehend the force needed to do this. Just think of the size of the planets and moons, the vast distance between the stars, the time scale of intergalactic travel, all of these things that can be defined to humans given the study of astronomy, but still nearly impossible to visualize and comprehend. And that's what makes sci-fi horror so great. The science of astronomy isn't exactly antithetical to space Cthulhu. Dead Space 3 finally caps the series by setting one of these mystical celestial entities as Isaac's personal enemy, the final boss, the Moon of Tao Volantis, a literal necromorph moon that Isaac must dispatch with the power of the markers themselves. The horror of the necromorphs is dwarfed when faced with this, and it's perhaps a little underwhelming at first because when faced with this cosmic entity that destroys life across the universe for fun, a lone human being can cease its existence by poking it in the eye a few times. That is until it's revealed that this wasn't the big daddy of the cosmos. Our true enemy is still out of our comprehension. This moon was a part of a conglomerate of brethren moons, and who's to say that these brethren moons aren't controlled by Space Cthulhu or Yog-Sothoth or something else? The DLC Awakened of Dead Space 3 really dove deep into the Brethren Moons and expanded on this mythos inside of Dead Space lore, which ended with Isaac and Carver arriving back to Earth and attempting to contact authorities such as EarthGov or CEC and being met with static, before seeing a Brethren Moon rise from the other side of Earth and another one rise directly in front of the ship that they're in. This is the final moment of the franchise, Earth being consumed by these sentient moons, and our main character's fates remaining unknown, but the likelihood of survival is incredibly low.
I could not help feeling that they were evil things, mountains of madness whose farther slopes looked out over some accursed ultimate abyss. That seething, half-luminous cloud background held ineffable suggestions of a vague ethereal beyondness, far more than terrestrial spatial, and gave appalling reminders of the utter remoteness, separateness, desolation, and eon-long death of this untrodden and unfathomed astral world.
It's unclear if Dead Space meant to take this direction from the start. The first game had references to Unitology, the religious marker cult, but it wasn't the main focus of the game. The Unitologists portrayed just wanted to locate the marker for their own personal beliefs. The true intent of the Unitologists wasn't made clear until Dead Space 2, which expanded much deeper into the religious cult, seeing their true intention of convergence, where the life of a planet or a moon is succumbed completely to a marker. That is before Isaac is able to stop it from happening. Dead Space 2 even had a character named Howard Phillips. That's a clear reference to Howard Phillips Lovecraft. It wasn't until Dead Space 3 where the writers fully embraced Lovecraftian horror. There are so many aspects that highlight this. A group of cultists serving alien beings that think they are cosmic gods. They try to summon a leviathan from the sea. They try to summon a hive mind to consume the human race. There are planet-sized entities that can bring people mad with their presence alone. There is an alien race discovered to be long extinct as a result of these cosmic beings. And of course, an expedition of this ancient alien city that just goes wrong. There's anti-anthropocentrism, or a fancy word for saying humans ain't shit. There's a preoccupation with viscera as opposed to just blood and bones. And of course, sanity's fragility.
What did we see? For the mists were indeed all too benignly thinned. It was altogether different and immeasurably more hideous and detestable. It was the utter objective embodiment of the fantastic novelist's thing that should not be.
The Brethren Moons of Awakened can easily be compared to Lovecraft's creature Yog-Sothoth. These moons appear as several glowing spheres, which is often how Yog-Sothoth is described, and there are similar chants between stories of Yog-Sothoth and in Dead Space. In the story Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft, it is said that all are one in Yog-Sothoth, and a common phrase in Dead Space is,
"Make us whole again."
Also, one of my favorite Lovecraft stories is At the Mountains of Madness, something that I'm fairly confident writers for Dead Space 3 took heavy inspiration from. A group of explorers take a trip to Antarctica, an ice-covered foreign landscape. A small advanced group discovers the remains of prehistoric life forms before the rest of the camp loses contact with them. The group is eventually found and it's discovered to be mutilated, and they suspect a member of the group went mad and killed all the men that he was with. Further expedition leads them over the mountains, which turns out to be the walls of an ancient city, which has architecture alien to anything humankind has ever made. The inhabitants of this city are called Elder Things, and through hieroglyphics left behind, it's revealed that they were wiped out by cosmic entities. Hell, there's even a track in the Dead Space 3 soundtrack called Mountains of Madness. There's too many parallels to be a coincidence, but who knows? Even if not directly influenced by works of Lovecraft, there's no doubt the series took a dive into Lovecraftian horror. EA may have royally fucked the gameplay and survival horror atmosphere from the first title, but Visceral Games kept engaging the audience with what they could, their writing and their art direction. And in the end, maybe that's for the better. After all, what is a voyage through deep space without taunting the idea of Yog-Sothoth around? Thanks for taking the time to watch. I truly hope you enjoyed it. Peace.
What the fuck is Lovecraft's problem? Like, what are all these words? This ain't dyslexic friendly. I hate you. I was sitting there for ages trying to work out what so many words. Like I was like, terrestrially, my brain couldn't say it.